Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today, in an Australasian, if not a world first, we will be looking at Pro-Ject's brand new Debut EVO turntable. This turntable is not set for release for another couple of months depending on shipping, so it's wonderful that we get the opportunity to share this brand new model in advance. Right, firstly, Pro-Ject. Pro-Ject has been renowned for decades for producing some of the most cost-effective turntables anywhere. Their Debut and 2 and Debut 3 have been famous. In fact, the Debut 3, if I understand correctly, was the world's most popular single turntable. And quite rightly. A wonderful balance of quality, feature set, an amazing sounding turntable at any price, let alone the fact it was possibly the best budget turntable in the world as well. The Debut Carbon, which again cemented Pro-Ject in another level of quality, introduced cartridge and carbon fibre arm upgrades that meant it was second to none, and with that spawned an entire range of products that may include features like a phono stage and a speed box and an acrylic platter and all sorts of things that were so well respected and so well introduced as far as their quality and feature set. We ended up with something revolutionary for the price. This is an evolution again. The Pro-Ject Debut Carbon EVO. An evolution of probably the best. Even better. So, let's have a look. Pro-Ject packaging. Well, since a slight and subtle change of their model, the packaging has remained relatively muted. White box. Brand on one end. Model and serial number and scan information, both scan code and a manual code, on one end. An implication of the cartridge that's going to be on board, and of course its model number here. That's just emulated on both ends. Now, for those that may be observant, you'll see some clear packing tape along the bottom. This product has been opened pre-delivery to ensure that it contains a New Zealand power supply. It's not uncommon. We'll be opening it from the top, and this is as you would see it in your home. Now, before I do, please understand that this is in satin black. Kind of boring as far as the colour options. This range will include yellow and green and blue and gloss and other finishes along those lines. So please, for those interested in the colours, I'm going to follow up this video with some others later as the colourways start to become available. So, let's have a look. Pro-Ject's packaging. They actually use a paper tape to seal it down, rather than perhaps a more traditional clear plastic sellotape. It means that opening it is absolutely a breeze. Really, really easy. Simple enough. Now, a couple of things. Firstly, Pro-Ject is renowned for adding some really good interconnecting cables. It's quite unusual. Most things like CD players come with the most basic of things that you would never really use tomorrow as far as that upgrade. But Pro-Ject have added in with their accessories a good set of cables worth maybe $120 in the New Zealand market. So that's them there in a twisted pair, screened with a good long earth strap to ensure that connecting to both the turntable and the amplifier comes very, very easy. The plugs themselves are nice and small, so don't hang out too far, and at one end they're indicated with a little yellow clip. Further in, we have a Pro-Ject branded turntable belt. Now, there's a second belt, and I'll explain why in a moment. There's a round belt. Now, that's for when you use 78s. Now, as we've previously seen in other models, the speed box has been introduced in a number of options. The speed box then allows the pulley wheel that would normally be milled to be used for 78s rather than the standard 33 and 45. So great to see they've added that. They have Pro-Ject's anti-skate weight. There is a small plastic bag with both an Allen key for the purposes of tightening the counterweight, and a 45 to 33 adapter. Lastly, in the accessories, we've got the little wee plastic thing that probably gets ignored by everybody. This little tool is designed for you to be able to slip the belt from the 33 to 45 pulley without having to touch it with your hands. Okay. Now, unusually, and for the first time, we've got a full colour setup guide. Awesome to see, including a freebie, which is the cartridge protractor. Very, very straightforward. Now, given the fact that the turntable comes pre-fitted with the most likely cartridge anybody will ever use, it's nice to see that this is a freebie, but it's quite unnecessary for an end user. The 2M Red cartridge that we see, or will see, is already factory fitted and ready to go. Okay. Now the next layer is a simple protective cardboard. Okay, now that's just so that the lid isn't going to get scratched or damaged in transit. Okay. Lifting the next layer out, very, very straightforward, and taking the folded cardboard ends off again, really, really easy. The Perspex lid is protected by a synthetic sort of polish bag, so that in transit, even if it's to rub around, it's not going to leave any scratches or marks on the Perspex. So that's wonderful, and it means that the lid arrives in perfect condition. There is a little triangle, and its purpose is simply to support the lid and the central pulley wheel. There's a couple of these sort of weird closed cell foam sort of paper cutouts. They're simply there to sit between the cardboard and the surface of the turntable to ensure that should this be at the bottom of some massive stack of stuff in a 40-foot container, that added weight and potential rubbing isn't going to damage the painted surface of the turntable. And of course we've got the turntable. We'll just put down for a moment, give you a look at the rest. Now they've opted for polystyrene in this particular thing to protect the product in transit. Importantly, and probably the colour contrast gives it away immediately, don't forget to grab out from the polystyrene the counterweight. That little small counterweight, of course, is immediately so important as far as the setup and performance of the turntable. With a small cut, we can see that they have added a New Zealand power plug. As with all designs, all previous ones, this is 15 volts. And then, last but not least, is the turntable platter. And again, just pausing so that you can see the packaging. Get rid of it. Now, the Debut Carbon. Again, wonderful in its design, hugely popular, but here's the first glimpse of some of the improvements that ProJect have made. The platter. The first, okay, there's the felt mat, which has been left in the box. There we go, we'll put that aside. What we'll see with the platter is that, okay, first glance, it looks normal. It looks just like the previous Debut platter, but of course steel has been added to add inertia, and inertia is pretty important as far as keeping a turntable spinning at exactly the right speed. But with steel you can also add a potential for resonance. So what ProJect have done in the Evolution model is they've added an internal ring, and please hang around for some close-up photographs, and I'll take some close-ups of some of the important added and Evolution products that and features that ProJect have added. This rubber ring may seem simple, but it takes a product that would normally resonate and leaves it almost inert. And that single improvement is vitally important as far as the potential resonance of the surface of the platter itself. So very high mass, very low resonance, wonderful to see. Felt mat again. Right, looking at the turntable for the first time. Now firstly, again, the introduction of one of these polish cloth bags again, and please, it's very important when taking it off that you use the gentlest of touches. Should it start to snag on anything along the way, it's important you stop, find out what it's snagging, and move the bag away from it to ensure that we don't end up damaging the product that you've just purchased. Looking at it, other than perhaps the matte finish, it's you wouldn't be the first to kind of go, hey, what are some of these changes? Well, if we glance firstly, they've introduced a speed box in this, so we no longer see the traditional suspended motor with the large pulley changes. Again, as I alluded to the belts, the speed box allows for both 33, 45 and now 78 speeds to be done. Should you be playing 78s, you whip the standard flat belt off, put the round one on, and away you go. The speed box itself is a switch at the bottom. So instead of a traditional switch which we've seen in previous models, which literally just turns the unit off or on, this gives you two settings, or two speeds, with off being in the middle and on being to one side. Again, hang around for some photographs. I'll take some close-ups of these key features. Again, while we're looking at the bottom, I want to show you one of the biggest improvements. And these feet are in the X1 and X2. This is a $2,000 to $3,000 turntable, and here in the Debut we've got their isolation feet. Essentially and conceptually, what they've done is they've allowed this unit to be leveled very easily, so you can unscrew these and adjust it and level the turntable. It's a feature that ProJect has had to ignore up until this point because of the price. Well, they've introduced this in such a wonderful budget model, and it's great to see. The feet also have independent suspension on every single one and a felt pad, so moving it around on a surface means that it's not going to scratch or damage anything. But they've introduced, with essentially their sort of dampet in the foot itself, independent isolation and vibration dampening from every single foot. Again, wonderful to see in any turntable, let alone one for such a small price. Looking at the back, and again, hang around for some photographs, I'll take some close-up, we see a very traditional method of connecting it, and this is something that we've seen in the previous model. A central ground and two RCAs. These are beautifully milled and of wonderful quality. Centrally, we also see the 15-volt input for the motor. Spinning it around and having a look, we can see a traditional carbon fibre arm. This is straight out of the Debut Carbon, and Ortofon's 2M red cartridge. These additions alone would set this product well above any in its price, and again, wonderful to see at such a budget model. The unit's inner pulley wheel means, of course, that any motor vibration is virtually eliminated, and the central bearing has always been wonderful. I mean, set that going, it will continue. There's virtually no resistance from the bearing kit, but of course doing a wonderful job of ensuring no rumble and other noises can be generated from the deck. Okay. So tilting it forward, we'll see, of course, at the rear the classic hinges, the motor, the central pulley wheel, the carbon fibre arm and the cartridge. Now I'm going to pause for a moment and just add a few of these things so that we can look at how you would have this set up in your own home. Adding the belt to the 33 pulley. Very, very straightforward. Always give it a bit of a turn, make sure it's right way round. The anti-skate we will always add last. The counterweight, of course, can be added immediately for the cosmetic side of things. We would then add the platter, the felt mat, and the lid. Now, when you're adding the lid, I guess it's important that you don't end up sort of inadvertently torquing the unit so that it doesn't slide in nicely. So just spend a little bit of time, make sure it's lined up, and you end up with a beautiful finished turntable within seconds of pulling out all the parts. So there we have it, in a New Zealand first, ProJect's brand new Debut Carbon EVO turntable, unboxed here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.